Good evening, everyone. It's always a great honor for me to stand at this podium in a Hall of Fame ceremony. Tonight, I have the great pleasure of introducing Stacy Johnson. I met Stacy when she was a member of the Hall of Fame San Jose fencing team in 1976. Now, it wasn't called the Hall of Fame at that time. But when you think about it, in 1976, women could only fence four. It was too dangerous for women to do other weapons at that time. So a women's foil team consisted of 4 fencers, and 3 of the 4 fencers are in the Hall of Fame. And I'd like to introduce her 2 teammates who are here to celebrate the occasion. Gabe DeSaro. Not Gabe DeSaro, Gabe DeSaro. And Liddy Bradford. Now, of course, I prepared my comments before I read that great bulletin board there, so I hope I'm not going to repeat too much. But one item that I didn't see on the bulletin board was Stacy's collegiate record at San Jose was 305 victories and 1 defeat. I saw Stacy fence a number of times because at that era, my daughter was fencing for the University of Pennsylvania. To this day, I don't know who had the great ability to make that 1 defeat, but I know it wasn't my daughter. Stacy has a whole list of fencing accomplishments. I'll just repeat some of them. 4-time All-America, 2-time National Collegiate Championship. She fenced on 2 Royal University teams, 3 times U.S. National Team Gold Medalist, 5 times individual finalist, and she was a member of the Olympic team of 1980. Now, also included, but I didn't see it up there, is she is the winner of a Congressional Gold Medal of Achievement. This is probably one award that she would have preferred not to receive, and I'll give you a little history behind it. 1980 was the year that President Jimmy Carter announced that the United States would not be fencing in the Olympic Games in Moscow. I had the rare honor at that time of being the Secretary of the United States Olympic Committee. And I can remember to this day when the telephone rang in my office, which is not unusual for an attorney, but what was unusual was everybody in the office came in to look at me. And I looked up and they said, "The White House is on the telephone." And I picked up the phone and the person that was there said, "My name is Lloyd Cutler. I'm the counsel to the President of the United States." And since I had been through this so many times, I said, "I know who you are." And he had said, "The President of the United States would like your opinion on what would be a good substitute for not competing in the Olympic Games." And he didn't like my answer, but my answer was very simple. There is no substitute for not competing in the Olympic Games. And of course, what our great government did is they invited the Olympic team to Washington, and she now has the Congressional Gold Medal of Achievement. As great as Stacy's record is as a competitor, she has 2 other attributes that I think deserve recognition in the Hall of Fame. The primary one, of course, is Stacy as an administrator. Between 1976 and 1992, I identified Stacy as a leader with strong moral values, excellent interpersonal and communication skills, commitment to achieve the high goals that she sets, and a dedication to devote herself 100% to whatever she undertakes. She always sees the broad picture, and she was a very dynamic person. And so when I was nominated to run for president of that time, I guess it was the USFA, for 20 years after my first term, against the incumbent, I asked Stacy to run on my team as the vice president. And typical Stacy, she decided she accepted, and then she took charge. She said, you know, you were president 20 years ago, and the people who are voting today, some of them weren't born, most of them weren't fencing. They don't know who you are. So we have to get the word out, because otherwise all our great ideas will go no place. So I said, okay, as a lawyer, I said, I'll write all that to the shareholders. And so she said, no, I'll do it. And so it turned out, started as a letter, became a 3-color flyer with everybody's bio, and when you got it, you got your name in the address that was delivered by the post office. But when you turned it over, you had one large sentence, a one-liner. And when I say she's dynamic, wait till you hear the sentence. Every voter that time would pick it up, got this one message. You have between now and May 23rd to save fencing from extinction. And she listed the goals that we had. To shape the organization to be goal-driven, to increase participation in fencing, to integrate coaches and teachers' efforts into the USFA strategic direction, to achieve significant international results, and to increase public awareness of the sport and promote its Olympic status. This could be the goals today. As the French have an expression, pardon my French is not that good, le plus ça change, la même chose. The more things change, the more they remain the same. But Stacy's value as an administrator did not end at that time, it just started. She went on, I have my notes here. Okay, one page. She went on to, and most of this is listed on the board there. She was a member of the FOC for 16 years. She was the first woman elected to a 4-year term as USFA president. She was on the USOC Executive Committee, USOC Bid Task Force. In San Antonio, she was the founder of a Dreams for Youth program, which has served 100,000 children to date, and was the recipient of a $1 million USOC grant. But what makes Stacy so great as a president and as an administrator is not the position she held, but what she did. I think we all remember in Athens, 2004, when Mario Zagunis won the gold medal and Sadie Jacobson won the bronze medal. And we also remember what happened in Beijing in 2008. By some strange stroke of luck, the very first event competed in the Olympic Games in Beijing was women's individual sabre. And the first medals won by the USOC in any sport was 3 medals in women's sabre, with Mario defending her championship, Sadie Jacobson was second, and Rebecca Ward was third. And the only reason why I mention all this now and say, what's the relevance of this, is that while everybody knows what was done in those Olympic Games, I don't think many people know the role that Stacy played in getting, allowing this to happen. In 2000, there was no women's sabre event in the Olympic Games. Stacy took on the leadership to get women's sabre admitted into the Olympic Games. And this was a difficult struggle. She had to get a majority vote of all the fencing federations, and a lot of fencing federations were not in favor of this They didn't have women's fencing teams, and they would rather keep it the way it was. Then what happened was that the IOC agreed to have it come into the games if you got the majority vote of the fencing federations, but there was one very onerous condition that was attached to the acceptance. They said that we will accept fencing as an Olympic sport, but there can be no new medals, no increase in number of athletes, and no additional events. This meant that in order for women's saber to come into the Olympic Games, 2 other events would have to go out on a rotating basis. And unfortunately, the FIE had decided that the first event to go out was women's foil team. This was a very difficult decision for our women's foil team to take. The women's foil team in 2000 had placed 4th. They had trained for 4 hard years in order to defend, in order to have a chance to win the Olympic medal that eluded them. And now they're being denied the opportunity to compete if women's saber went into effect. So what happened was that there was a division of opinion amongst the athletes. The women's foil team was not in favor of women's saber being admitted into the Olympic Games, and they made their opinions known very loudly and very strongly. And this hurt Stacy. Why did it hurt her? Because she knew what it was like from her own personal experience in 1980 when she made the Olympic team and experienced what it was like not to be able to compete. And I remember one night when the phone rang and I heard Stacy's voice, and it was a very troubling call. I couldn't see her on the phone, but I could almost sense that there were tears in her eyes. And she asked me, am I doing